We're a professional service provider. We work with clients across the globe. We have clients in USA, biggest online shopping communities over there. We have clients in Europe. Some of our clients rolling out the releases that we provide to them to 5 countries right off the bat. We have clients in Australia, so basically we cover the entire globe. One of the biggest online shopping communities in Australia is our client. We're now working, it's actually a pretty common thing to use browser extensions to integrate with some websites or parse some websites or provide some enhanced functionality, extend functionality of certain websites. One of the most popular things is LinkedIn. Everyone tries to automate LinkedIn or parse it or do something with it. One of our clients, JB from Evaboot, came to us with a request. I guess it was more than a year ago. He mentioned that his browser extension that works with LinkedIn needs to be enhanced. And he already had done like a first version of it or something with a freelancer. I guess his pain point was that he wanted to focus on marketing of the product that they have, but he had to do testing for it. He had to control freelancer. He had to text him, wait for him to answer. Then when he was not getting replies for like 3 days, he had to deal with it, and he was all busy with managing development of that browser extension instead of putting all hands on deck in marketing the product. I guess that was his pain point. Maybe I didn't realize the importance of that when we started talking, but based on how it turned out, I can't stress it enough. JB is a nice guy. He is a marketer, a modern marketer and he knows how to bring attention to his product. I've noticed his YouTube videos back in the days, and I even asked for some advice on how to do that. I guess that was one of the points when we started, getting some connection on a personal level. And he decided to proceed with us. He had some bugs to address, and we started working on the project with him. It turns out a couple of bugs were not that easy to fix, because when the code is written in the wrong way, you touch one thing and some other thing usually fails. So you end up in that endless loop of fixing and fixing over fixing. That's super inefficient. You never predict any timelines, and you cannot guarantee the thing that you're building is going to be robust. And thanks to JB as a client, he totally understands the process and importance of having the right architecture. We were able to convince him to do multiple iterations of refactoring for the browser extension that he had. And we proceed with that. So while we were fixing some issue, we were also doing refactoring. And within like 3 iterations, we've almost completely reworked his browser extension, made it much more solid, much more flexible with features. On my last interview that we did a few months ago, he said that sometimes he now don't even review the release that we're providing to him. He just pushes that to the web store right off the bat, not even checking. For me, it's actually pretty funny. You should never do that. Don't do that at home. But it also confirms the quality level, that how his extension went from what he had originally to what he has now. I think they hit like 2 million ARR last year and end of last year, and maybe they're doubling this this year. And that extension that's there, 100% supported by our team. They have 0 issues in production. We totally covered the extension development, all tech aspects of it, including testing, including communication and what exactly needs to be done. We suggest ways to do things better. And it's there, and it's growing. One other project that we had back in the days was a consulting project for already huge development team with enormous expertise called Avira. Avira is one of the biggest AV companies in the world, as far as I understand. And they actually have their own browser extensions that's doing like password managing and all stuff like that. They were interested in moving the technology from Chrome to Safari. And Safari is much more limited in terms of what you can do with it. So we had an R&D project approved with them to run tests, make sure what direction they should pick to implement their browser extension in Safari. So they they were not hiring us to build a Safari extension. They noticed our expertise and hired us to run an R&D project for them before they do the development with their in-house like 50 developers. So we were consulting them on the ways how to make it, or whether it's possible to do on Safari. That was quite a confirmation for me that we know what we're doing. And I remember the project had like 4 iterations. We had like agile approach, and we just made 4 different sections of an R&D project to manage the risks as well. And we were able to prove all the points within 3 iterations. When we were presenting results, we were able to tell everything they wanted to hear within these 3 iterations. So I personally suggested to them that there's no need to spend the remaining 25% of the budget to do something about our research, because we've already met their expectations, and we showed everything and provided a little proof of concept to them and suggested the best way to implement the thing. I think they were quite surprised with our approach, because it's usually, when you're a freelancer, someone expects you to use full budget or even use much more than originally estimated. It's like if you're a freelancer, it's like your goal to use as much budget as you can. But as I'm usually saying, my goal is to make sure we deliver value and we're building valuable things. So as long as we were able to achieve the goal within 3 iterations, we just immediately report that to the client and suggested to remove the last part and just save their budget. I think that feedback from them is on our Upwork profile. Yeah, that was quite a fun project to participate in. I can tell you a story behind Ludio.gg. That's quite a long story actually, because our relationship started, I guess, more than 3 years ago. And we've started working with them. Our initial goal was to build a little playback instrument for Mafia games, for Liars Club games. One step at a time, we've built that little part of their website, and then they asked us to do something else, then something else, and then they actually switched 100% to us from their initial development team that they had back in the days. I'm not sure why. I think we were dedicated and focused on delivering the value to them. We were dedicated in providing value, and they actually noticed that. So we end up taking over the entire project back in the days. But that called Liars Club, I guess, originally, and it was a prototype to run like Mafia game online. So it's like Zoom, and you sit around with your friends and play Mafia game online. But it's not just a Zoom, it has a game engine overlay on top of it. On top of every single avatar, you can mute a person, you can vote for a person, you can do a lot of game actions real time as part of that Zoom call. Well, and it's not even Zoom, it's a different technology that we use behind the scenes, and it works in the browser. You don't need to install any separate app for that. We end up modifying that prototype, and guys were looking for a product market fit at the same time. We were working closely with them at that point, and we end up building a monstrous prototype that was very hard to support and enhance further. And what we've done, we've actually convinced the client that they need to just burn it to the ground at a certain point and build everything from the ground up. But not just do that, to use the budget. Now, after building that prototype and ended up with these roadblocks in place, we had much better understanding on what needs to be done architecturally and logically and business-wise. We had quite a good understanding of what needs to be done, and we were preparing client that has to be done. It has to be burned to the ground and built from the ground up with all that good understanding in place. Yeah, and after certain preparations, they've raised funds, and they gave us a go. So we've created a totally separate new architecture for a project, and we're building that for more than a year now. I guess it's a second year for that engine. They've rebranded over time as well. Now they called Ludio GG. You can try it on try.ludio.gg. They have a totally modern engine. It supports different video streaming providers. It has real-time engine on top of it. It's super flexible. It's not just Mafia game now. You can play any desktop offline game online now. I think they shoot pretty well during the COVID. So now they're planning to raise extra funds and keep enhancing the technology. And they are our client for more than 3 years now, which is pretty exciting. And that's how we build a long-term relationship. I think it's one of my favorite clients. Hey, Ankit and Kurbat, shout out to you guys. Well, one of our clients is one of the biggest online shopping communities in Australia called Cashrewards.com.au. And back in the days, they approached me and asked if we can support their browser extension. They got that browser extension originally built by some other team of developers. They told me some funny stories that sometimes they were unable to understand the project manager assigned to their project on the call, which was pretty confusing for me. So basically, their marketing director told me that he wants to push the browser extension to the market, but he can't do that if the product is not good enough. And he knew my approach. We knew each other for a while, so he asked me if we can do a better job. Yep, so since when we took it over, I think it's been more than 7 years now when we took the project. It was reworked a couple of times, and we had to do architectural and technology changes over the course of these 7 years. We dedicate part of our team every month to support Cashrewards. I think they've grown like 5 times since then. And their reviews, stars that they have at the web store also increased since then. The solution now is much more solid thing. And yeah, the funny part about this project is since we worked with them for that long, their teams were changing internally multiple times. And it's not like when you introduce your new contractor to your in-house team, it's actually us as a contractor. They were introducing their new internal team to us as a contractor for the browser extension. That was quite a funny experience. And I was sitting there I was running that project myself as a manager, and I was welcoming their in-house team, new team members to the team to work on the browser extension. And that was quite a funny experience. They are still with us. We keep supporting Cashrewards now. We've rolled out mobile Safari for them. We help them address different questions all around browser extension. And yeah, we dedicate the team for them every month since then. We are in this market in professional services niche for more than a decade now. I like building a long-term relationship with every single client that we have. We do complete development process for them. We figure out what goal needs to be achieved and help with that. When you're building products for the client, sometimes direction gets changed. We're agile, we can change direction. Every single sprint can be something else. You can just pay as we go, and we're super flexible in building products. Our communication is transparent. I think one of our clients told that our communication is through the roof, which is pretty interesting statement. Working with us actually reduces total cost of ownership for products that you have, because we know what we're doing. We're much more efficient as any house team will ever be. We're sitting at the edge of the market. We bring best practices to every single project that we're working on. That's how, instead of figuring out what needs to be done or how it should be done, you can just trust us and we just suggest the best way to move forward. When the first version is done, you usually go with your product on the market to production. And it's a very important point where you have to have your own team supporting it. We can be that team for you. We're providing post-project support for the product so that when it's released and real users start hitting your database, real users start hitting your APIs and apps themselves, you're covered. If they suggest some enhancements, we are there for you. If there are any issues on production, we can immediately react and make things better so that it keeps working properly. It's actually very important, especially if you're a small business and small startup. When you build your own product and then you release it to the market, you have to have someone that will support you in this journey. And we do that. We're not just building the product and just giving it away and moving on. We're ready for your service after it's done. We support you live, and you can rely on us for this.